England cricket to me is at a bit of a crossroads. With the major purchase of the hundreds during this summer and the struggles of the county championship during the last few years, with ECB bailouts becoming commonplace, the ECB is being pulled left to right with various stakeholders and shareholder groups. The advent of the 100 in 2021 has meant that August has been exclusively used for this 100 competition, the most important part of the summer schedule for the counties around the country. This has meant these counties have been entirely hamstrung and the 100 has pulled away towards the bigger counties, only getting bigger. Now this situation could become a bit of a worrisome sign for English cricket fans on a whole, of pulling away funds and resources from county cricket. Cricket's place as a sport itself is at the heart of many English sports fans. But of course, compared to football, it will never be as big. For many, it is the summer sport when, for most fans, within the winter, football being the main and obvious number one sport in England. And even sometimes within summers where there is a major football tournament, which happens every 2 years, football can still take priority during those summer months. This means compared to some of the countries around the world, England cricket does not have this sort of number one sport situation that places like India, Australia. The county championship, despite this, remains one of the only red ball cricket competitions around the globe that is heavily watched and supported. But having said that, it has not moved with the times like many sports leagues around the world. Talking of football, the Premier League's adventation in 1992 is a really obvious change that made football move with the modern times of commercialism and capitalism within sport. The County Championship, on the other hand, has remained quite dated, remained very historic in the way it is run. And in many ways, I love that. I love its quaintness. I love the fact that it feels untouched by this commercialised world. But the truth of it is, for the ECB in recent years, it has become a nuisance to them as a general case. ECB bailouts have become commonplace in the last few years, and as a competition, it has become more of a nuisance for England to deal with and England cricket to deal with, rather than a place that really strives out great talent. Another aspect of this, as we've mentioned in chapter 2 of this series, is that England cricket have moved their selection style away from the idea that the county championship and form within that is the most important. Now, for all the reasons we mentioned in chapter 2, there's an understandable reason why this happened, but it does mean that it has left the county championship in a bit of a crossroads itself. Is there going to be any utility and need for the county championship in, say, 5 to 10 years' time? If neither it is financially supported by fans or neither it is supported by the ECB as a way to get players into the England cricket team, the problems at stake for the county championship are quite existential and quite massive. To me, the county championship just needs a major revamp, a major rethink in a creative way of how do we get it so it can be both financially viable in the future, but also a place where England cricketers can develop and move on to the international stage by showing their performances at the county level. In England, test match cricket is incredibly well supported. Days of test match cricket often sell out months in advance. So the proof is that across the country and across England, there is plenty of red ball cricket fans. And even around the world. Take this winter in Australia, for example. Reportedly, over 200,000 England fans made their way over to Australia to support England in their biggest away tour. The challenge for me is for England cricket to find how to use England cricket fans who love red ball cricket and make them love and appreciate their county in the same way. And to me, the main thing that it has to do is to repackage and repurpose the sports league that they've been watching the most of their cricket life. Most people don't watch the county championship because it's not easy to follow. It's never been packaged in a way which is easy to follow either. It makes it hard for a county cricket fan like myself to try and explain it to friends or cricket fans that I know to say why they should watch it. Fundamentally, it doesn't work as a sports league, let alone as something you could sell to your friends as a throughout the summer, you should pay attention to how your county is doing. Now, to be clear, this new idea that I'm going to suggest to you today, I'm not suggesting county cricket is suddenly become as popular as the Premier League or as popular as England Test match cricket. It's the kind of thinking and creativity that is needed to really stop the existential issues from happening in 10 to 15 years' time. Lastly, the use of the point system as it is at present makes it almost impossible to watch games of cricket because draws have become so valuable within the point system that has been made for the county championship. So just a few simple fixes with regards to the point system, the schedule and how the games play out. I think the county championship could come back to a future where it actually is viable and fans would actually follow along and enjoy this really historic and beautiful sports league that is unlike anything around the world. The things that I think we need to fix are going to go through in a list. And firstly, as I've alluded to there, it's the fairness of the league system that it is in. To me, this is the single most important thing when putting together a sports league or sports competition, or all the way down to you and your friends just playing a game of cards, right? There needs to be a level of fairness, or perceived fairness, that everyone understands that everyone has a fair shot at the game. Everyone's memory can be held back to when a friend of yours cheated in a game as a kid, or a time where you were done an injustice whilst playing the sport you might love. Moments of unfairness stick with us more than most things in life, because at the end of the day, we all want to understand that there is a fair chance of doing well in anything. And in sport, that is the most important thing. Sport in and of itself kind of encapsulates that bit of society more than anything, as there are rules and regulations to any sport you play. Firstly, to explain why fairness is the point I'm pointing out first when it refers to the county championship, is that is the first thing that needs to be fixed. For those who aren't aware, the county championship system as it stands is split into two divisions. There are 18 county cricket teams split within these two divisions. The first division has 10 teams, and the second division having the remaining 8. At present, in both sports leagues, the teams play 14 matches. Now, for the eagle-eyed or eagle-eared amongst you, that means in Division 1, you don't play each team twice. The custom in any sports leagues or most sports leagues around the world, this will make sense to anyone. We play one game away at your place and you play one game at our place. And over the course of those two matches, you get a fair indication of who is the better side. And this fairness makes sense to any sports person at any level. You almost can understand that logic. One game at ours, one at yours. It's a really simple, logical thing. But at present, the first division of English domestic cricket doesn't follow that premise. It just, quite frankly, doesn't make any sense. And in a way, Division 2 actually runs and functions better as a league because of the fact there is 14 matches and 8 teams. So it is the perfect number of matches for the teams that are there. Every team plays each other twice. There can be no question over the course of a year, the two teams that finish at the top of that division deserve to go in Division 1. Whereas in Division 1 there is so much more contention, and it's not often talked about. To me, this is one of the biggest weaknesses of Division 1, particularly within county cricket. It doesn't really function as a fair sports league, and I think that is a massive weakness for its ability to become a wholehearted fan of it. Imagine the Premier League's equivalent, and we've done this throughout. But the comparison of a Man City, imagine they didn't have to play away at Anfield, say, just because, well, they don't play every team twice, so some teams are not going to play away from home. It just wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't run in English football, and nor should it. But it wouldn't run in any level of football. But in any level of sport, it is pretty rare for sport teams not to play a home and away fixture within a league structure. To me, this is something that is most clear and obviously wrong with the setup and could be fixed incredibly simply. The very simple idea would be split the teams into 3 divisions and make it 6 teams per division. Firstly, this would create clarity in the competition in the simple fact that every team would play each other twice. One at home and one away. This would lead to 10 matches in total. It would also start to differentiate between the divisions more. Therefore, Division 1, dare I say it, would be a Premier League, and in this version, Division 2 would be a clearly lower standard. So this means in the international ramifications of this, if you scored runs or took wickets in that top division, you'd be a good indicator for international success. Whereas if you scored runs and took wickets in the 3rd division, it might just be a sign that you need to move club into one of those high divisions. So therefore, this level of differentiation helps to make it a more clear. It also works in a very fair sense if it also reduces the workload that a lot of professional first-class cricketers have said is an issue, especially since the advent of the 100, where other competitions have been squeezed because the whole of August is basically given to the 100. That is a point for later, and a wider point about English cricket in general due to the size and the length of the summer. As a general fix, it fixes a very simple and big issue to me that county cricket currently faces. The second bullet point, or the second point for this idea, would be competitiveness and jeopardy. At the current moment, the county championship struggles for both of these things. Of course, professional cricketers want to win their games they're in, but the nature of how the county system works and how the season runs, it is difficult to have that jeopardy throughout the year. It's difficult when the games are split into big blocks of fixtures that you're going to have the same competitiveness and, say, jeopardy towards the fixtures when you return to it 2 months after. It's not a summer season that just builds throughout like a club cricketer would, for example. The fix for this is very specific to me. We've already discussed splitting the teams into 3 divisions to make it 6x6 and make it fair. My further caveat to this would be that there should be a playoff sort of system in place. In my opinion, after these 3 divisions are split into 6, the sort of playoff system would work so well. It would seed 1st through to 4th, and they would go into a semi-final. 1st playing 4th and 2nd playing 3rd. A semi-final and then a grand final structure. With the 1st place finishing team from the regular season would both get home field advantage and play 4th, and the same goes for 2nd and 3rd, and in a situation of a draw in a 4-day match, the higher seed would just go through, with the same logic therefore running on the other side of the draw when 2nd plays 3rd. Then with the final either being at a neutral venue or the higher seed's home ground. That, I would say, is up for debate. As you might have guessed, this would only mean that one team would be promoted or relegated, so that grand final winner would be such a coveted spot in those lower down divisions. But this would also mean only dead last would get relegated. Now, this is the reason I'm relating this to the phrase competitiveness and jeopardy. To me, this works for many facets of the issues that the county champ has at present. Firstly, the league structure is very bunched, with only 6 teams in it. So therefore, at every stage of the season, there is something to play for. There is some level of jeopardy attached to each fixture. Rather than what has often been level at the county championship is that games by the middle and end of the season often feel they are drifting due to there not being much on them. We can all picture wicketkeepers bowling towards batters at the end of a game that everyone knows will be a draw. I would hope that this system would change that. It would mean that every minute and any second of a county championship game being played, there would be something on the line for those fixtures. To use a hypothetical example of this system of league, imagine a team is in 5th place, but they're 10 points behind 4th and are 10 points from 6th. Their game going into the last game of the season could mean so much for that county's future financially and division-wise. So imagine in that last game, they're playing 1st or 2nd, say. And if they win against one of those big teams, they would go into the playoff system as well. Or if they lose, they have a chance of 6th leapfrogging them and they get relegated. To me, jeopardy is something that makes people watch sports games. Watching a Champions League final, World Cup final, or a team trying to stay up on the last game of the season when we're relating it just to football here, are some of the moments that, again, stick in the memory more than most. And to me, that jeopardy is what elite sports leagues have, and especially modern sports leagues, with financial purses often being a big thing talked about in the build-up to these kind of games. This jeopardy would lead to so obviously to me towards pressure. And pressure, I believe, is something that is, especially in cricket, what differentiates between elite cricket to world-class international cricket. Of course, like other things, the technique you do, how fast you bowl, how far you spin it, all of those things of course matter massively. But often it is how you deliver those techniques under pressure that defines you as an international sports person. There are many brilliant cricketers who had unbelievable techniques, who at the test match level couldn't quite make it over the line, and the only thing you can understand is that pressure element and the mentality it takes to deal with that at the highest level. This, to me, is something that the county championship thoroughly lacks, and I don't think many people would disagree with that. The county championship is often looks quite a cheery place, people enjoying each other's company, batters and bowlers having a chat. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean there is not competitiveness and jeopardy underlying, but I feel you wouldn't see that in a lot of other sports leagues around the world. Now, of course, 4-day cricket will always have a uniqueness in that you spend so much time on the field with one another, there is going to be a level of familiarity. I'm not suggesting we should get rid of that. Arguably, that's one of the things people love about cricket. But what I'm saying is that these kind of games would put the pressure on these moments and these players more so than they do currently, and especially in these playoff fixtures. Imagine a semi-final or a grand final that decides if you're going up a division or you become the county champions. The pressure on that game would be immense, and therefore results, performances, anything like that could be a better indicator of potential international success. And hopefully, again, this idea is just in my head at the moment, but the idea of these grand finals and semi-finals is that you could therefore get a bigger, better crowds in my opinion. This is a very rare thing for county cricket, and it happens very, very rarely. But it is fairly commonplace for England in a test match, right? Test matches often sell out months in advance, especially for the first few days. Hopefully, to me, this semi-final and grand final kind of element to it could rank up this league system and therefore make it take off in the sense of fans being interested in coming to games. I mean, imagine, sort of in my head, a Yorkshire playing Lancashire to get into Division 1 in a semi-final at Old Trafford or Headingley. Imagine how much that would go off. 4 days of cricket between arch rivals for deciding who ends up in Division 1. That is brilliant entertainment, and something I'm sure the Lancashire fans and Yorkshire fans, huge cricket fans as they are, would be interested in. Therefore, alongside a lot of things, a league system which is both a fair system, and going back to everyone plays each other twice, but also has a domestic system which is quite competitive and there is jeopardy on every fixture, means as a combination that would be a really compelling product to sell to a potential fan. For those thinking this is a massive change, a reminder, the county championship structure has been changed countless times over the years. It was a one division competition until the 21st century, with a brief split into 3 tiers during the COVID-19 pandemic, which many at the time enjoyed quite a lot. The number of teams of divisions has also changed, with Division 1 at points comprising both 8, 9 and 10 teams at various points. So the truth of it is, in the modern era in England, there hasn't been a way of organising counties that has truly made sense and that people have really liked. Alongside this, a total rethink of the point system must happen, even if it's just a return to the 5 points for a draw rather than the 8 we have currently. As at present, games of county cricket have started looking more like draws from day one, and the numbers back this up. In 2025, 48% of all fixtures ended in draws, bettering the 47% rate from the year prior in 2024. And these were all under these same regulations: the batting points that you make, the bowling points that you make, and the total points you get for a draw or a win. Whereas roughly a decade prior, in 2017 and 2015, the rates were 35 and 34% respectively. That is more than a 10% increase over nearly a decade of time. And this was all under the pretense that 2015 and 2017 were in the older mould of how the competition formed. Again, 5 points for a draw, and the bonus point system a little less weighted towards batting. It isn't as simple to me as saying draws equals boring cricket. There are plenty of examples of that not being true. But when a draw seems inevitable from day one, it is boring. There is nothing you can suggest to say it isn't, because over the case of those 4 days of batters just batting, people don't want to watch that. People love seeing run scoring. But you can't tell me that last year, for example, Surrey playing Durham and scoring 720 at the Oval was a particularly enjoyable game of red ball cricket. This is all without going into the bonus point system very much specifically, but just to make it clear, it meant you could get up to 5 bonus points for batting, but 3 bonus points for bowling. That just doesn't make the weighting towards batting and bowling the same when you're a groundsman running a pitch to try and make your team win the league title or stay in the league at a lower level. What this was done to do, it was move the runs from 400 to 450 in the first 110 overs, getting you that maximum batting point. And this was to help emphasise aggressive batting, because as we know, despite this draw percentage thing, this whole idea came into place when Bazball was saying, we're in the entertainment business, no more draws. So the idea that their own policies led to more draws in the county championships is one of the great ironies that county cricket fans have had to just take on the chin in the last few years. It is one of many decisions which, to me as a county cricket fan, the English Cricket Board didn't think through. They maybe thought through the thing they wanted to change or the thing they were looking to make teams do, but they didn't change anything for the good, in my opinion. Personally, and I know it's my own idea, I would say this change would help fix many things that the county championship currently faces and struggles with. Firstly, the general apathy towards selection of test match teams, as every single fixture would have more on it. More financial ramifications would lead to more increased intensity, and therefore success in those moments would become a bigger indicator of success that might translate to international cricket. In the same way as I referred to earlier, the fact that there would be one division with 6 teams in it would make that division far more premier. It would become a Premier League, dare I say it. And runs and wickets in those pressurised playoff moments would become gold dust towards your potential campaign towards being an England cricketer. It would to me be a better indicator of the handling of the stresses and pressures attached to international cricket due to how stressful and pressurised those matches would become. And again, that is often one of the major things cited as a difference from county cricket and international cricket, is that intensity and pressure. As I mentioned earlier, what this would also touch on is something to make it perhaps popular amongst players, is the reduction in games played. It has become a massive issue in recent years of the PCA. Players have consistently spoke up through their spokespeople in the PCA about playing too much cricket, and that the structure as it stands doesn't promote elite level readiness and preparation for fixtures in almost every format. Most notably the T20 Blast, as it has been squeezed into a certain time frame due to the 100 kicking off as well. The reason this would help this would be reducing the red ball matches that they play, to make the obvious point. At present, First Division and Second Division play 14 matches, whereas this, depending on how you did, would be up to 12 or down to 10. So say you finished in 5th place or last place, you're playing 10 matches flat. That's 40 days of red ball cricket. But if your team does well and you get to that grand final, you're only playing up to 12 matches, so you're still saving yourself 8 days of workload. So imagine, this is a reduction of 16 days of workload max, or 8 days at minimum. This, for county cricketers, would make a huge difference within a summer. This would again help aid the idea of making county cricket as elite as it can be, rather than being a system that players have to relentlessly play in and just perform to a standard which is passable, rather than making these formats an truly elite representation of the best county cricketers going at each other. If this simple system were to be implemented for next season, say tomorrow, the way I would do it would be simple as this. The 18 teams and where they finished over the course of the county championship in the season before, you take the first 6 from Division 1, you put them in the new Division 1. You therefore take the next 4 from Division 1 and the top 2 from Division 2, and that becomes your new Division 2. And then the 6 left over are Division 3. That would be, if it needed to be implemented, exactly how you would go about implementing it to begin with. And then that point forth, the 1 promoted, 1 relegated would continue on from there. The ideas said above look to revolutionise the way domestic red ball cricket is played and consumed in England. This would aim to create higher pressure environments with matches having more jeopardy on. This would aim to help fandom for the same reasons. Matches beginning to mean more, whilst also giving a league structure which would be easy to understand and follow, so that fandom remains throughout the summer. Even if that fandom remains passive, not necessarily turning up to games, buying drinks and buying food, but it just being a watcher on a YouTube stream, all is part of helping the numbers that boost county cricket's interest and financial viability. This would be a huge step in the right direction for cricket in England, an attempt to make it unlike anything else across the world of sport. In short, it's a big change that would make it move English cricket to county championship from being one of the most formative and traditional sports leagues in the world and to being a modern sports league. So in essence, it's a large-scale change, and I thought, if I'm being totally honest, I see it as just the beginning of an even bigger idea out there for English cricket. To me, the worry with changing to just 3 divisions would be that you'd end up with clear top to bottom, and clubs that getting promoted and relegated could be the same counties, and therefore a sort of yo-yo system could start to occur. The more radical idea would be to make use of the minor counties and utilise the level of cricket that is played within those minor counties, but also the fandom that is had for these counties. To me, the 100 was based on the idea that making use of the massive urban populations around the UK to create big crowds and therefore big money, focusing on cities rather than counties. But to me, in a little bit of a way, this is missing the point. Of course, there's a huge market in cities, and the 100 has done a great job of capitalising upon that. But there is also a market for proud people from these counties that were always around long before these cities became urban metropolises that they are now. These historic counties, which are the basis of the English game, have always had passionate lovers and supporters, but also passionate people from these areas. Let's take a few of these minor counties, for example, or minor counties as they stand currently. Take Devon, Cheshire and Buckinghamshire, for example. These places are proud counties who also have produced a lot of great cricketers over the course of their history. If you asked people from these areas where they're from, the usual answer would be the county they come from. Now, of course, in some senses, it might be you're from a city and a town which is known around the country or around the world, so you would say it. But for the most part, in areas around like places like this, more rural areas, to put it plainly, the place you would say you're from that represents you is that county. In the UK, there is a sense of pride in these counties. They've been around so long, as I mentioned earlier, before these cities had become massive cities. To me, there is so much potential in emboldening this fandom and emboldening this pride in the minor counties, or perceived minor counties, but just counties in general. To make this idea a bit more formalised, the idea would be promote the 12 counties from the NCAA trophy and make them part of a wider 5-division system rather than the 3-division system we mentioned before, with the same 1 promoted, 1 relegated system. As there are 20 minor counties, or 20 people who compete in the NCAA trophy, the other 8 minor counties could still be a league that forms alongside other teams like the South Asian Cricket Academy, or Challengers, or similar sides that may crop up in the future. This would ensure the whole system wouldn't be a closed shop, but the top 5 divisions could become akin to the Football League in England, where the Premier League, Championship, League 1 and League 2 kind of runs in its own bubble. That last division, say Division 6 to give it a word, would just mean that if there is place and skill and will from players in those divisions, they can move into those top 5 divisions. And even that top team that gets through during in that Division 6 system would be able to get in, and therefore it's not a closed shop, whereas in Division 5 you can never be relegated. That level of sort of free market economics towards sport can work when you force teams to have to be competitive. In American sports leagues, you cannot be relegated, and we have seen over the course of years how that can have an impact on competitiveness within certain teams and certain markets. The biggest benefit to me of widening the base of more counties and making more first-class counties in general would provide a formalised place for talent to develop late. Perhaps players who've dropped out of academies at 18, or people who have left university having spent time at a UCCE setup. Or for brilliant club cricketers who have found their feet later in their career and want to have a fist and a go at going into county cricket or professional cricket more widely. What this would do would make a place for late developing talent to thrive, rather than just peter away without any chance of making it in what is at the moment a fairly closed shop of professional cricket. To make this slightly more personal and more specific, I think a clear comparison can be drawn to football here again. Jamie Vardy, perhaps one of the most iconic names of the past 10 years of Premier League strikers, started his professional career for Stockbridge Park Steels in 2006. And by 2016, he'd been the standout striker in a Premier League winning Leicester side. In between that time, he worked his way up through the professionals football pyramid, from Halifax to Fleetwood, finally to Leicester. Now, as much as I enjoyed our brief foray into Jamie Vardy's career, it dawned on me when I was doing this video that couldn't happen in English cricket. The way the system runs means that someone would have to know or have scouted Jamie Vardy and just moved straight into one of those Division 1 counties, say. But to me, that's something that football actually has less place for in general than cricket. Cricket as a sport is so skill-based. It is so heavily reliant on technique, on batting and bowling and fielding. All of these things that you can keep working on well into your 20s and even 30s. But football has such a base in running and sprint speed and agility and even strength that actually late development happens less often, because if you're not good enough and strong enough at the time you're 18, it's unlikely you're just going to suddenly do that at the time you're 25. That's not to say that this can't happen, as Jamie Vardy is proof of, but my point is that cricket actually, in a way, has more of a need for space, to put the two together, for where there needs to be place for these players to be able to develop late. At present, there is an ability for this late development, playing through the NCAA trophy and working your way through that. But for the large place, it is flawed. There is a place for it, but the truth of it is you need to be able to pay your way through, whether it be money you've saved up, or family money, or money you might just have from a parent in need. To me, this is one of the many things in widening of English cricket would be able to do, would be able to make use of these fandom and possible fandom of minor counties, and the ability for a better catch-all for talent that might drop out of certain pathways without a contract. It would hopefully embolden and be a catalyst to a certain level of growth by the nature of there being space made for it. these counties would feel emboldened by the fact that they are in a wider division system, so they can see a way that they could get up to the higher divisions. Whether that be through developing their team, making their bar better so more people come and have drinks there as just a day out. All of these things could lend themselves for these minor counties becoming better financial institutions and therefore better sporting institutions alongside it. There is also a truth that cricket could even adopt the football kind of model, whereby contracts could become bought out. So therefore, the developing of great young cricketers could even become financially viable for these minor counties. So imagine you're a Division 5 former minor county and you have a brilliant young cricketer come through your system. You help train, develop, and all of the things coming around that. You, when they're 19 or 20 and a Division 5 or Division 4 side, could then sell that player onto a Surrey or a Yorkshire or one of the big financial counties. Now, I'm not saying that this would need to happen, because in my opinion, this was when you'd start edging towards the very much commercialised, capitalised version of sport in the world and in England. But there is an idea for the logic of that, for therefore these minor counties being able to progress themselves with a kind of talent development becoming incentivised by the nature of transfer fees being enabled. I know that is not necessarily a direct line from that to that, but the idea being is this whole idea is trying to do is make the county championship a better place for the progression of potential international cricketers. And that is arguably what it is right now and what it should be right now. But to me, this idea would be to try and fill in that kind of gap and try and help late developing talent make its way through in England, which I think it struggles to do compared to places like Australia, where the grade cricket system has a brilliant catch-all for amazing cricketers who stay playing an elite level of cricket. And of course, England is different to Australia, and England is different to any other cricketing nation. But that is how you have to find a system which suits the country that you are from, or we are from. For this even further fetched idea, which I'm totally aware is a bit of a head in the clouds, away with the fairies, hard thing to pin down, I think if it was to be achieved, they would need to drop into that 512 million that has recently been poured into the ECB. This would be able to widen the base of the competitions themselves, pay for more umpires, be able to pay players even a kind of half a year wage when they're playing cricket, whatever the idea might be, to make it viable and able to do over the course of years. But it would make the getting into the lower levels of county cricket less elitist. There are lots of examples of parents paying players contracts or players being able to pay their own way through, whereas this obviously keeps county cricket at what it is viewed at from the outside, an elitist game that not everyone can get into unless they know a guy, or unless they have the finances to do it themselves. English cricket has so much space for a brilliant level of talent identification and talent that can come through into county cricket. But to me at the moment, they don't have a wide enough scope of an idea for the way that they can make use of the brilliant talent that is around this country in every city and county around. To me, this is where English cricket needs to develop and widen its ideas for how they make county cricket viable. And this is just one man's idea thinking about it on their own. So that is another thing I wanted to say in this video. If you have an idea, if you have a thought, make sure to get in touch. If you have something you think could be different about it, or you think could be added, I want to hear from you. Now, dare I say it, you're a decision maker, you're someone who has a really, really high-falutin job within the world of English cricket. Email me, ring me, DM me, tell me why this wouldn't work, or why the bits would need to be changed for it to work. Because at the end of the day, as much as I enjoyed making this video for my own enjoyment, there is a part of me that also thinks this could work on an actual wide-scale level. Otherwise, I wouldn't make the video in the first place, I guess. So this is my idea, this is my grand plan, but I'd love to be able to have discourse with anyone, whether it be qualified, unqualified, have known nothing about county cricket, know nothing about cricket in general. I want to hear what you have to say about this. So drop yourself a comment, all of these sort of things. I'd love to get in touch with anyone. And lastly, if you ask me, the county championship as it is right now should still be the main indicator for selection in England. But this, if you look back on the last 50 years of English Test match cricket, has proven not to work with England on the world stage. And over the course of those last 50 years, the county championship was the only thing that was used, really, to select these teams. So at the end of the day, it wasn't a wrong assessment that there was made in 2022 that the county championship maybe doesn't work to make England test match cricketers. So the idea that England cricket needed to change and adapt, I don't think is unfair. In fact, I think it was a totally logical understanding of where English cricket had been. But to me, I don't think they made a large-scale change enough. I think they did a sort of smaller, half-assed job of changing stuff, but not maybe had the scope to change the bigger fundamental issues with county cricket and the issues that have been found over the course of that time. The county championship itself has a brilliant heritage. Counties that have played each other for over 100 years at this point, and having been place where many great cricketers have played first-class cricket, and many of the greatest cricketers have played first-class cricket. These counties are steeped in lore and legend of those cricketers. And this means that for me, the county championship still has an appeal unlike any domestic cricket competition in the world. As I'm sure it is clear, my love and reverence for English county cricket runs deep, but I do think in essence it needs to be changed to function better as a professional sports league and function better as a sports league where English cricketers are taken from. Thank you very much for watching.